Hi guys, Yuki here, back with Seduce Me 2, the Demon War demo. It is not the demo, it's the real game. I'm sorry. I'm tired. It's just the Demon War. This is alternate routes. Basically, this is just me trying to accomplish all the other endings and hopefully be able to get the secret password in order to figure out what exactly is going on and hopefully unlock the rest of the bloopers. So, we're gonna start off with Damien again, how we first started off this entire series. So yeah. It's gonna break my heart, but we're basically going to be trying for the bad end right now. Alright. It's alright. Oh, whoops. Having a cute toy isn't a bad thing at all. That's what some toys are meant to be. Cute. It doesn't matter who has them or how old you are. Cute is cute. It was just a fact to me, however, Damien couldn't help but chuckle softly before bringing one hand to my head and petting it over my head.
You are so adorable, you know that?
I didn't want to do that. Well, I don't feel like going back. Huh? Don't care.
You just... I love...
Oh, okay. Okay.
Another nightmare?
Basically nightmares.
You can't control your dreams. I did. No.
Oh. This time we listened to our mind. I had to relax. Now was not the time to let my libido take over. I didn't want to do anything after experiencing that kind of dream. I slowly began to pull my lips away, and Damien did the same, as if he already knew what I wanted. I smiled at him and caressed his cheek. I feel better now. Thank you. Damien smiled back at me and nodded before nuzzling my hand and closing his eyes. He most likely had to calm down himself from the mood he had suddenly started to inch towards. The feel of his skin made me elated because it helped me remember that he was okay and was with me. That was all that mattered. It wasn't long before I closed my eyes and fell asleep again. This time I was able to float into the blissful darkness, uninterrupted. And then back to the skip button. I'm just gonna cut this part out since everybody already knows this, so yeah. I am back. Alright. Simply enjoy the moment. As Damien and I had our moment, his brother stepped up near us, almost in a protective circle. Sam, however, moved towards Diana, glaring hard.
You've got 10 seconds to explain why she's here, bitch.
I'm going to ignore that insult for the sake of the bride. However, I wasn't the one who brought her here.
You're such a terrible liar.
I turned to see Matthew and Sam standing in front of me and Damien, ready to attack Diana. Succubus in question, however, seemed unfazed by their attempts at intimidation. Guys?
Did she bring you here?
What? Turning my head back to Damien, I saw a serious look in his eyes. I had only seen that look once before, when Diana had confronted me and showed me his past. I shook my head. No, she didn't bring me here. It was the Demon Lord.
I beg your pardon?
Are you sure?
I stared at Damien, seeing something in his eyes ignite like an angry flame that was quickly growing. his holding me tight as he looked to Diana.
Why did he bring her here?
I looked over to Diana, knowing that she would explain, but I was surprised to see her flinch back at his expression. Was she scared? Shaking her, Diana cleared her throat and looked back to Damien, settling back into her uncaring gaze.
He wanted to lure you all back, knowing that at least you, Damien, would chase after her, and the others would follow. Obviously, his plan worked.
And we already know this.
What are you guys talking about?
Are they allowed to know?
I plan to put a barrier curse around the Demon Lord's castle and army.
Yeah, go with the curse. We already know that. It's the imp. Is that really what we should do? Being passive right here. Diana nodded to me, a look of sincerity in her eyes as she locked her gaze with mine. I knew she was trying to protect us, but was it necessary?
Unless you can fight, I can't guarantee that you will survive this war.
Let me and my brothers train then. We're demons, for fuck's sake. We know how to fight.
The boys stared at Diana as she turned her head towards Sam. He was right though. They knew how to train, so they knew how to fight. If they fought with the rebellion, there would be a better chance of winning this war.
You all realize this is a war, correct? You can die here.
We understand completely.
We know what the risks are.
Diana could only stare at our group as we challenged our proclamation. I wrapped my hands around my fiancé's arm, praying at the idea of participating in a war, but knowing that we needed all the strength we could muster to finish off the Demon Lord. This is the only way that I could go home. Defeated Diana sighed and rubbed her temples.
Very well. I can't exactly keep you here like prisoners, so it will be up to you if you choose to train for battle. However, I highly suggest just staying here and allowing us to handle it.
I nodded, as did the others. This was really happening. We were going to kill a Demon Lord, and we had 1 week to either prepare for it or wait. Diana looked towards me and looked to my dress and yada yada. This doesn't really matter. Just exposition. I gripped Damien's hand harder, letting my nerves sinking. Naturally, Damien smiled and kissed my forehead.
It's okay. Everything will be alright, I promise.
I nodded, but some part of me was still fearful despite his reassurance. We were in the demon world. Humans in the demon world. I was worried what would become of Damien now that he was in his home plane as something he wasn't born as. I looked up at Damien, seeing him focused on following our guide to get us to our room. I was curious. What was going through his mind? I was sure he was worried when I was taken, but now that he had me back, what was he thinking about now? For a moment I briefly wished I had his mind-reading ability. I wanted to know what went through Damien's mind at everything we did, at every step we made, at every event that came along the road. Feeling my stare, Damien turned his gaze and looked down at me, furrowing his eyebrows in confusion.
What is it?
I lightly bit my lip. Did I want to tell him what was on my mind? It's nothing. I didn't want to worry him. He was probably had a lot of things going on in his mind. I didn't want to add any more concern in his head. Damien stared at me for a moment before nodding and kissing my head, making me gasp in surprise.
Alright. Just let me know if something's on your mind, alright?
I'm sorry. I nodded and smiled, happy to know that he was open to listen. It would be more open to him, but now was not the time to be so. As we reached our room, I took in that ambassador room I had claimed the night before, especially sanctioned for me and Damien. The others were given rooms in another part of the castle, so we had some space to ourselves. Tired, Didn't have a bed growing up, it's so sad.
Were you really here a whole day?
Lie in his arms. I was stunned by the love I was given by Damien. Despite being human, he traveled through the gates of worlds to try and find me. I was lucky to have a loving man such as him. My only regret was being in this world instead of the altar with him. I simply pressed my forehead to his shoulder, closing my eyes and taking it in his scent and love. I love you, Damien.
I love you too. More than you'll ever know.
I could hear him his heart pounding to affirm his feelings for me, making me smile against him. I was beyond blessed. Eventually, Damien pulled away and stared at me with a tired smile.
We should get some rest. There's a long week ahead of us.
I nodded in agreement, knowing exactly what he meant. We slowly crawled into bed and snuggled into each other's arms, embracing the darkness of slumber once more. How would he fight? Da-da-da.
Why can't I sleep?
Oh. Not asking. I'm a terrible person. I furrowed my eyebrows and kept his cheek. He was warm, probably from sitting in front of the fire for a long while. Still, I worried for Damien. Even if I didn't ask, I wanted to know what was going on. Damien opened his mouth to speak, but was interrupted by a sound of pounding fists at our door.
Oi! Got some food! Let us in!
Rise and shine!
Aw, me. No. Tired. Do 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 do. He's able to read minds. Got mad. That's enough, Damien. He was right, this was unfair, but Diana did what was the closest thing to making him human. She didn't expect him to come back to the demon world and rekindle his powers, though. In a way, she did give him what he wanted.
Well,
Give Damien his energy back.
impossible.
Like hell it is! If he's still a demon, he needs his energy to fight.
I've spent the last 10 years fighting the Demon Lord with both of their energies. I'm not as powerful as I was then, so I no longer have the ability to give him anything without risking my life.
Who said we gave a damn about you?
Skip. I don't need a trainer. I was fine on my own. Diana stared at me, slightly miffed and slightly in disbelief. Did she not believe me? I didn't ask it, as Diana pressed her lips in a fine line and looked to the others.
Very well. Do what you believe you should.
With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation as Diana and Sarah left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
This'll be fun.
Man, training's gonna suck.
It'll be worth it, though.
Damien's right.
As we finished eating, everyone left to either train or do things on their own. I left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him. So I chose to train on my own. It would not be an easy adventure, but I had practice in self-defense from my taekwondo. If I found a way to add magical energy to the mix, then I would be set. It seemed like a good idea until I managed to kick the bench and the bed frame a couple of times, resulting in a very sore foot. Gah! It was strange. Practicing my self-defense went normally as I've done before, yet I could tell that I was going to need some help. I left my room to wander the halls, curious as to what to do. Should I go to one of the rebels for advice? Should I find Diana? I wasn't entirely sure. I felt a bit discouraged, but I pressed forward, letting my feet guide me. Look, new character! Eventually, I was led outside to where a woman on a strange brown and red horse raced through the obstacle course. There were training dummies stationed around each turn, and the woman rammed her sword into each one as she rode by. I was quickly entranced. She looked so natural on the horses, and the way she cut through the dummies was downright breathtaking. I grew mightily envious of her skill. As she spotted me, however, she stopped and pulled the reins on her horse.
Whoa! Huh. You must be the human. You look much prettier than I imagined.
The woman quickly jumped off of her horse and walked to me, smiling a kind smile my way as she approached. Oh, hi. I didn't mean to disturb you from your training or anything. I didn't want to stop her or distract her, but the woman waved her hand dismissively with a laugh.
It's alright. I needed a break anyway. I'm Mirth, friend. How can I help you?
I stared at her, surprised to see her being so cordial to me. Then again, I was a guest of the castle, and apparently gossip started around that a human was staying for the duration of the war. It should not have been a surprise to see such manners. Still, I shook my head and smiled. It's nothing, truly. I just wanted to come out and explore, that's all.
Explore? How strange. Do humans often wander around on their own? I figured the Rebel Queen would have a bodyguard watch over you.
Oh, you know me. I just do whatever I feel like doing. I don't need anybody. I shrugged a bit. It really wasn't a human thing. It was more of a Yuki thing. I had always naturally been curious, and the world I was in was full of new things to learn. I do, at least. I find it to be a good way to break away from day-to-day routine and take in the sights. Let your mind wander, you know? Mirth stared, nodding a bit, but despite me seeing a slight distance in her eyes. She was a demon after all, so the human mind was a little too different when it came to what we did and why. I smiled and looked around, seeing that strange purple sky above us and taking in the smell of the air. It is really nice out here, though. I almost wonder why I decided to train alone.
Huh? You're training alone? Why?
I looked over at Mirth, seeing her tilt her head at me in confusion. I shrugged a bit. I'm not really used to having someone train me, or maybe I didn't want to worry about someone watching me train, but I didn't want to bring any of the rebel leaders down.
Wait, they all offered to train you?
I nodded, seeing a glint of amazement form in her eyes. Yeah, they were all open to take me and train me to defend myself, but I already know how to fight, so I didn't want to take up their time. I'm sure they have much more to focus on and accomplish anyway. Mirth stared for a moment before nodding and straightening up, stretching back a bit.
Understandable, friend. Still, the rebel leaders are amazing fighters. They would have taught you a lot.
Oh yeah, I've trained with like 6 out of the 7 people. Diana, Faye, Rabbit, Shadow, Sergeant. I haven't done Zero yet. And now you. Do you really think so? With a nod, Mirth turned her head to the outskirts of the training ground we were in, ushering me to look over as well. In the distance, I could faintly see a large group of demons and beings clashing weapons and fighting like their lives depended on it. At the edge of it was Sergeant, standing cross-armed and firm as he watched on, concentrated on the group before him. Ah, cool! Look at all these people. Kinda looks like Mika in demon form. Cool. Seeing them fight without fear or hesitation took my breath away. I could see nothing as I watched the blades and shields collide in chaotic but almost melodic harmony.
Those are the best of the best here in the rebellion.
Huh? Really?
Yeah! All of those fighters rose up in the ranks and are now lower generals and captains, brought up to lead and train the rest of the army with the same tough love the commander gives them.
I looked over to see Mirth smiling fondly at the sight of the sparring. It made me a bit curious. What about you, Mirth? What are you in the rebellion? Mirth finally broke away from the fight to look at me in surprise before giggling a bit.
I'm technically a lower general like them, but I lead the front lines while they lead the troops that back us up.
Oh, okay. Why not train with them, though?
We have different strategies. My section is meant to be a wall of tanks and cavalry, pushing the enemy back and cutting down as many of their number as possible. Their sections are for when the enemy gets through my wall.
Oh. So you're the strongest of the generals? Mirth's face began to glow a soft crimson before she laughed.
No, we're all pretty equally strong. I've just been in the army long enough to know how to train on my own. It's not a big deal, really.
I nodded before looking back to Sergeant and the sparring he monitored. The generals in the field proved to hold their own in a fight, but against each other they were all evenly determined and skilled. Each had some sort of unique strategy, some form of attack they would rely on constantly to deliver results. This sight inspired me and made me wonder, what was my strategy? Mirth stepped up beside me and crossed her arms over her chest.
Look at them. All of those soldiers are fighting for the same cause. To stop the Demon Lord and bring peace to this world. That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're all here. I lowered my head and glanced at glanced at the ground on my feet, remembering that I was here because of the Demon Lord, but not by choice. These demons more than likely came into the army fueled by their hatred for the Demon Lord and his tyranny. I felt small compared to them. They had a just cause, a selfless reason to fight and risk their lives for a better future in society, while I wanted to fight to get myself home. Was I being selfish for having my own reason to fight? Mirth looked over to me and placed a hand on my shoulder.
Human, if you want, I can help you train. I'm sure that I can get you battle ready in no time.
I looked up at Mirth in surprise. She would train me? From the look on her face, she was genuine in her offer to help me. I considered it for a moment. Did I want someone to help me after all? Sure. Remembering the pain in my foot and the silliness trying to train on my own made me lean towards accepting her help. I nodded with a smile, placing my hand on hers with confidence. I would love some help. Thank you. Mirth returned my smile with her own and a nod.
It would be my pleasure, friend.
Taking a step away from me, Mirth walked over to her horse and ran her hands over his mane before looking back to me.
Go ahead and pick up a weapon. Something here should suit you. There's a barrel over there that has plenty of swords you can use and take for your own.
I took a good look around, spotting the mentioned barrel of swords ready to use. While fighting barehanded was something I was used to doing in Taekwondo, wielding a weapon would protect me better in this war. I mentally nodded at her suggestion before walking over and pulling out one of the swords. To my surprise, the blade was very light, almost like it was made of plastic. These couldn't have been real, right? What the? This is a sword? Mirth laughed and walked over to me, drawing over her own sword and swinging it around in her hand with ease.
It's light steel perfected right here at Lilith Castle. As weightless as a toy, but just as deadly as a common blade. Give it a couple of swings.
I grasped the hilt in both hands and took a swing, gasping as I saw the blade cut through the air as if it had a proper weight. Whoa!
See? What did I tell you?
Drawing my eyes down to the blade, I could tell that it was well made, at least for training purposes. As my eyes darted around and landed on a nearby training dummy, another curious thought passed through me. I took a step forward, crouching low with the sword at my side, and charged forward, arcing my blade out and slicing of the dummy with shocking ease. The cloth that was holding it together split apart, and the hay stuffing began to pour from the opening, revealing the hard wood that was keeping it upright. Mirth, impressed by my attack, dug her sword into the ground before applauding me with a grin.
Good job, human! Are you well trained in blade work?
I looked to Mirth and shook my head. While I had some sword training in Tai Chi, I was in no way actually proficient with a sword. Blade. I didn't know you learned that doing that stuff. Again, I don't really do any sports. Actually, never done sports. Aside from like PE in like high school, in middle school, and elementary school. But I was like great at like jump rope. Alright. And I'm okay at basketball, but I'm not like amazing at it. I mean, I can dribble and pass the ball, and that's good enough. Before my eyes, the dummy began to reshape and form itself back together, ready for another round of attacks. Yep, it was magical, and it was the perfect way to train. Mirth picked up her sword and stepped up to the dummy, grasping the hilt and staring hard at the immobile target. Also, it saves you on having to buy new things or having to remake it, so that's pretty good.
Focus on your target and decide how you want to bring them down. Use every opening you can find and slice through the best one!
With a shout, Mirth lunged forward and ran her sword across the dummy's neck, effectively beheading it, sending the head flying out onto the ground. I stared stunned to see that she had also cut off some of the wooden pole that held the dummy up. Mirth smirked and rested her blade on her shoulder, stepping back and looking to me as the mark reshaped itself.
See? Now you try!
With a smirk, I began to swing and practice, slicing and stabbing through my practice opponent with my new weapon. Mirth continued to spur me on, showing me different ways to cut down the dummy. It's not a demon, it's a dummy. For the entire week, I would continue this, perfecting a blade and learning how to cut down my enemies in any position and situation necessary. Mirth even began to move the dummy around to give me a moving target. Oh, that's cool. After all, with time comes experimentation and practice. I channeled my energy forward through the hall, wanting so much to go back to the room, flop onto the bed and sleep. However, something in my gut stopped me from moving as I approached my bedroom door. Huh? Something felt wrong. Whether it was something in the air or my natural instinct screaming at me, something was throwing me off, and I couldn't pin down why. As the pain groan escaped the room, my suspicions were confirmed. I peeked into the bedroom to see Damien curled up in a bed, gripping his head and pressing his knee into his chest. Damien...
Stop! Don't!
Oh, okay.
Please, just stop!
Okay! I'll do nothing!
Thank you.
I let my emotions rumble in my chest as I nodded with a smile. I understood him perfectly. After all, I was going to be his wife.
Liberamente tua. Liberamente tua! I did something that his brothers should have done a long time ago. Placed a barrier on his mind. He can read minds, but he can't control it. However,
what did you take from Damien? I wanted to know exactly what was going on. The confusion was going on throughout the day of Damien's well-being. It was too much to ignore, and I needed to sort it out. If not for him, then for my own sanity. Diana gave me a firm look, crossing her arms.
a little piece of the demon lord that has been haunting him. Happy? Be careful.
I am now. I've been having nightmares. Some sort of shadow kept visiting me and taunting me for my choices. It would change shape every time, and just now, it only helped in making my mind-reading abilities worse. I didn't want to worry you with it because I thought it was... I know.
There's no use in...
Don't want to worry about you.
Think about it. What are your thoughts about him being a demon once again?
I don't know. It was the truth of the matter. I didn't know, and I wasn't at liberty to say because it was all the end up to Damien, not me. I would root for him either way, but I wasn't the right person to make that choice. Well, I'm gonna rip that choice away from him, so stay tuned! Looking down at Damien, he's sleeping and having a good time.
Oh, wow. What is it? You were staring at...
You're just so handsome. I didn't necessarily want to make this a big deal, so I avoided it by being cute. While my compliment was true, it was still a cover-up. Luckily, since Damien couldn't read my mind, he wouldn't know that. Damien smiled a bit and rubbed the back of his head.
And you look beautiful.
Aww. Another wave of red crashed over my cheeks, making me grin from ear to ear. He was so sweet to me. How did I deserve him? I trend once more from morning to night, desperate to become better at the sword. Mirth managed time to step in occasionally to give pointers, but she became an observer, and as as I practiced on my own, seeing me improve. Training was rough, but my body knew that I had to be ready for the journey and battle ahead. Staring into these skies, I became enamored by the darkening purple tint. As I prepared to head inside, knowing that I had to find cover before it became totally dark, a rustle in the dark bushes near the castle walls caught my attention. What the? I slowly inched my way forward and moved to the brush aside, watching as two figures darted off into the forest. Determined and curious to find out who they were, I began to pursue them. Sneaking through the trees was no easy task, but managed to keep my distance and keep the shadowy figures in my sights before seeing them stop at a collection of trees, with one leaning up against one of the tree trunks and the other curled over their legs, gasping for air.
Hey! Slow down, you big dork.
Huh? I knew that voice. I focused between the brush of trees and bushes to concentrate on the figures, finally able to figure out who they were. Leaning by the set trees were Sam and Carrie, with him smirking at his wife, who was panting for air.
Oh, what's wrong? Too fast for you?
Noticing the obvious innuendo, Carrie pressed her lips together, unable to stop the giggles from making her body shake from holding them in. Okay.
Too fast. Seems to be a problem of yours.
Wow.
Oh, come on. Do you want me to carry you all the time? It's not even hard.
That's what she said.
Hilarious.
Ugh, that's not... I did it! Ugh!
I couldn't help but silently laugh at the two of them. Sam and Carrie were perfect for each other. They were both feisty, and despite having their differences, they were madly in love, showing it with every laugh and kiss they shared. I was extremely happy that Sam and Carrie had hit it off so well, remembering how hilariously they had met and how their journey to eventual marriage came full of excitement and energy. Despite her jabs at her husband, Carrie naturally gave off an older sister kind of aura and she was always doing something to take care of the Incubi brothers, their wives, and me. She truly made us feel like family, and Sam loved to brag that he had the best woman ever at his side. Still, I was particularly happy for Sam. He really seemed to have it rough in the human world for a while, and he had even talked about returning to the demon world after his 4 brothers settled down. When Carrie came into his life, though, he seemed to change his mind.
Okay, I'll stop. That's what you get for making me run.
Come on. You know you love me, you doofus.
That used to be my nickname. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I do, but I'll fight you anyway. Now come here.
Carrie walked over and leaned her body against Sam's chest, making him naturally wrap his arms around her and nuzzle her forehead. They smiled happily at each other as Carrie wrapped her arms around his neck.
So, what's this about anyway? Did you just want your slow-ass human wife to chase you for shits and giggles?
Sam took a moment, his smile slowly fading before squeezing Carrie's body tightly and looking down at the ground beside him.
Well, I wanted to,
I became worried. What was wrong with Sam? He lapsed into silence as he stared at the ground, brow furrowed as he struggled to find what he wanted to say. Carrie's head tilted to the side as she looked up at him, her earlier mirthful humor gone from her expression.
Hey.
I watched as one of her hands rose to the back of his head, softly stroking his hair.
It's just me, Sam. You can tell me.
With a sigh, Sam finally returned to his gaze to Carrie, eyes almost pleading.
Carrie, marry me.
She stared at him in confusion, lips parting to say something before she froze. Her expression slowly morphed into shock as she realized what he meant. I remained confused, not sure at all what he was talking about. They were already married, right? They're talking about that demon bond thing.
Sam, are you serious?
Soul bonding, or whatever. Sam nodded, his nervousness obvious from his worried expression. He took one of Carrie's hands from around his neck and kissed over her wedding ring before closing his eyes and inhaling deeply.
I always thought I'd come back to the abyssal planes, you know? I never felt like I belonged in the human world like my brothers. So I figured I'd eventually come back. Maybe kick my old man's ass while I was at it, but...
Sam looked down at Carrie and cupped her cheek, the white streak in her hair catching the fading of evening light and flashing silver as he brushed it behind her ear. I could see a faint blush spread across her cheeks as she stared up at him, listening intently.
After I met you, I stopped caring about the demon world, or coming back someday. All I care about is you. And I don't think I could even be happy here anymore if you're not by my side. So I want to take one last thing away from this world before I leave it behind. I want to marry you like the demon I am before I say fucking and ditch this plane for good. Huh? Up for it?
Almost as if on cue, the wind softly began to pick up and the leaves rustled around them, flower petals dancing along in the sudden breeze. Carrie's eyes began to water as she nuzzled Sam's hand with a smile.
You dork, making me worry. Of course I'll bind my soul to you, Sam.
I stared wide-eyed. Bind her soul to him? Was that how demon marriages worked? It seemed so as Sam grinned from ear to ear, tears filling his own eyes, as he embraced Carrie tightly to him and buried his head in her shoulder. Carrie laughed, finally crying as she hugged him.
Binding our souls. Does that mean that next time we're reborn, we can have a better first date than Denny's?
Aww. Oh, my bad. Aww, so cute. He's not wearing a shirt under his jacket?
Don't look at me, doofus. That was all your idea anyway.
I know, I'm just making a mental note here. How are we gonna find everything for the ritual? God, where are we even gonna do it?
Sam laughed and pulled away, kissing Carrie's forehead before staring down at her.
Don't worry, I got it. Diana said she had a private garden or something where we can do the ritual. She's gonna get us what we need too, so we don't have to worry about it.
Carrie smiled lightly and poked Sam's forehead.
I seem to recall you having nothing but nasty things to say about that crazy bitch before. Is she finally growing on you?
Oh, for fuck's sake, just shut up and come here already!
Sam grinned before leaning in and kissing Carrie hard, wrapping a hand behind her head to pull her in towards his lips. Carrie inhaled sharply before relaxing into his kiss, pressing upward into her toes to reach. Sam's arm around her waist pulled her against him until her feet left the ground and she kicked her feet up in joy, ankles crossed as she clung to him. I was insanely happy for them. They looked like a newly engaged couple again, nearly glowing in the incoming night. Whatever they were going to do by their souls, I hoped it worked out for them. I quickly turned left, not wanting to disturb their time together, and marched back inside the castle towards my room. I didn't look forward to walking back to my room after training. It was easily the hardest part of my day. However, I found it comforting to take my time exploring the castle on my way back. What I didn't expect was to hear a surprised shout echo through the stone halls. And since this has gone for like almost more than 40 minutes, I'm gonna stop here. I guess this alternate routes thing is gonna take me a lot longer than I thought. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye! Oh, we're still trying to finish Damien up. And then after that, go to James, Eric, Matthew. No, James, Eric, Sam, then Matthew, and then finally Diana. No, what did I do? We'll go back to this part next time, hopefully. I'm so dumb. I wish there was a back button. Let me go to my save file. Okay then. I'm probably gonna cut that part out. Alright, bye!